85. Channel 85. Channel 85.
Welcome to the Scientific Station. I'm Brendan Crowell. Today we're joined with Renee Reed Miller from Vessels International. Welcome.
Thank you.
So Vessels International is a humanitarian organization.
Yes.
And I believe you're one of the co-founders.
Yes, I am.
And what prompted you to start Vessels International?
Well, Vessels was really the source of it comes from service and the need to give back to our own communities and those of overseas individuals and cultures. So it came through the metaphor of a vessel in the sense that we are all vessels, and although lovely, we are flawed, and that's not always our fault. Many times it's the result of an environmental issue. So Vessels International hopes to give back to vessels overseas who perhaps have difficulty resulting from poverty or disaster, conflict, etc., and pour into them resources, training, and assistance.
It sounds like a pay-it-forward model.
It is, absolutely.
So you're paying it forward. What brought you to that point? What vessels helped you?
I would have to say my grandmother was one of the most integral vessels in my life. She's since deceased, but her life was an example for me to look to. She had quite a bit of service in her early years, deferring marriage for service, and even in later years working compassion ministries and becoming a licensed minister. So for me, she was a great role model. Although we were miles apart across the oceans, I did see her as a major influence on my life. But my parents are also very integral in that kind of combination of influences. In addition to that, I would have to say that the more removed and perhaps more distant influences would be the monarchy of Jordan. And I've been influenced by Queen Noor and the work of King Hussein and the strong service record that they've established in the region, not only for service but also for peace and conflict negotiation.
And the idea of vessel is inspired by physical vessels and pottery.
Absolutely, yeah.
And how do you see those connected?
Well, personally, I am an aspiring ceramic artist. I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm a potter, but I have learned a few of the skills needed to throw a piece of pottery. And through that metaphor, I have discovered how that really does describe our human condition. And we can often look to the pottery metaphor to see that it is a work of progress, a lifelong endeavor, being thrown upon a wheel of surrounding influences, constantly turning, and sometimes it goes really fast and sometimes it goes really slow, and our external influences can have a lot to do with how we develop in shape and in our mindsets. So I believe the metaphor is indicative of many things, but in this sense, I've drawn upon it personally as an artist and found it to be useful for many reasons. And
with this work for Vessels International, what was the seed work that you started doing?
Well, I would say there were several seeds planted in me, perhaps by others, over the years from a young age. As I said, my parents were very important in that scheme of things. But serving and visiting widows' homes, orphanages at a very young age, and seeing the reality of many people living in a condition that we just really put out of sight, out of mind, often in our lives in the Western civilizations. And so I found that was important at a young age, and then that sort of sprouted as I got into high school, and I was involved in many extracurricular activities involving service. And then through college and into my life just post-college, I found, well, it's time for us to do something overseas, and to do it not because our parents have laid the groundwork or in the name of anyone else, but what can we do personally as an individual? So my husband and I were privileged to join a group to go to India in 2007, and I believe that in both of us, that sparked a dormant seed that was already ready to grow, but needed some watering. And we went with a group, and they were already building an orphanage in Tamil Nadu, India. And Home of Love was a transformative experience for both of us. My husband, as he walked to the widows there at Home of Love, because it is an intergenerational facility, which is important in our vision as well, where widows and orphans are sheltered because they are often discarded and forgotten. So they're sheltered at Home of Love, and it brought that remembrance to our minds that we are where we need to be. And personally, I felt right at home. Honestly, I really did. I felt, why can't we just stay here forever, you know? And the children were just vibrant and intelligent and wonderful and inspiring. And so, of course, we can't get them out of our minds. And I cannot either get the children of Jordan out of my minds and many children that I've met through the years. So we started a global organization, and it's something that is hopefully going to reach into many nations. But we are working on a seed project in India and starting pilot programs in other nations.
I've heard of so many people having a transformative life experience when visiting India. I wonder if you have, what is it about India that inspires that? And with your trip, how long were you there?
I believe we were there for about 10 to 14 days. I'm not quite sure. The reason I went initially was to speak at a women's seminar as one of the speakers, to inspire and encourage. And that was a great experience as well. But I would say India itself is such a juxtaposition of cultures and languages and colors and even just the traditions of many nationalities, of many religions. So they all kind of come together in the nation. And I think that reminds us, that's sort of microcosm of what humanity should be. And so in that same sense, it is very apparent that there's a gap between the rich and the poor. And it's so clear when you see the faces of those who are poverty-stricken and lack justice, that we are privileged, and we do have a responsibility to use that privilege, whether it be to provide a voice for the voiceless or just to provide resources and support. So India is definitely a place I would recommend people go. But I would say in my heart, you should never forget the Middle East either, because there is a land of many people just waiting to be explored, and cultures rich and vibrant in themselves. So I kind of look at myself hopefully as a as a citizen of the world, and I try to remember that, not as an American necessarily, although I'm proud to be an American. I want to remember that I am a part of a global community, and we can remember that through service.
Now, your early service, it sounds like the structure was provided by either organizations that you were in or through school. And now, and after being inspired on this trip with your husband, it sounds like you're building that structure to assist other people in their need to provide service. And so how is the structure taking form?
It's been taking form slowly yet surely. We've been very methodical about taking